Good morning, everybody. I'm just going to do this video on the fly. I don't know what's going to happen with this, but I have a lot of information to convey. We're going to take a deep dive today, hence my scuba diver hat is on, because we're going to take a deep dive into what Mayor Bloomberg's money buys in Rochester, Minnesota. In the last election, and Mayor Norton doesn't seem to have a problem with this, up to the last election, of course, you remember Election Day was another one of our American traditions which had to be canceled because of COVID-19. Election Day was canceled. Instead, we had election months, election year. So our boxes were inundated with political campaign advertisements paid for by a mysterious billionaire from New York City. A lot of this campaign material, some of you saw this. I did do videos on the money that was spent against Carla Nelson in the last campaign. You're talking about $250,000 spent from a P.O. box in Midtown Manhattan across the street from Grand Central Station. Truly astonishing election shenanigans. Sadly, it's not illegal, right? Dark money is, and we have some of that in Rochester too, thanks to our undocumented situations that roam around Rochester. We have dark money here, but we have official money that pours in from Billionaire Bloomberg from a P.O. box in Manhattan. So when I did videos on this prior to the election, the money spent against Carla Nelson, the money spent against Dave Senjem, and in addition to that, every other the project was called Every Town, and Bloomberg spent money in every race in Minnesota to buy Democrat candidates. But what you didn't know is what I'm going to show you today. I had breakfast with some people last week. They gave me this information, so I have a document dump today, if you will. I have a plethora of information sitting in front of me. I want to try to get through some of this. So first of all, I very cleverly exploited new technology called Post-it notes to block out the receivers. But look at that. Look at that address. Do you see that address? That's straight out of New York City. It's straight out of New York City. And it says, our state senators should understand our way of life. Somebody from New York City is telling us our state senators should understand our way of life. Dave Senjem is out of touch with everyday Minnesotans and not on our side, right? From a P.O. box in New York City, right? The city so wonderful, everybody wants to live there these days, right? The city so wonderful, everybody wants to live in New York City, really? And these people are telling us Dave Senjem's not on our side. He doesn't support our way of life. And here you have a token white couple with their token one kid, right? Because, you know, they're careful. They plan for the future. And here you got another ad about Dave Senjem, right? We can't afford more politicians like Dave Senjem. And then they list all the bad things that Dave Senjem does. Because Dave Senjem, it's clear they're not for us. And here you have just this frightened child clinging to mommy. Or is that daddy? I don't know. Maybe the kid's got two mommies or two daddies. Hard to know these days. But of course, paid for again by a P.O. box in Midtown Manhattan. I encourage you. By the way, every town, okay, everyone for gun safety, every town for gun safety action fund. Is that a pro-gun lobby? Is that an anti-gun lobby? Is that an anti-legal gun lobby? Because we know in Rochester, the only people who have guns illegally are the bad guys, right? But Dave Senjem's not on our side. I got to roll on with some other ones here, right? We can't afford Dave Senjem. Politicians like Dave Senjem put special interests above Minnesota families. Really? It actually criticizes big money. Billionaire Bloomberg from Midtown Manhattan has the audacity just to criticize big money in Rochester politics? Has he ever been here apart from maybe a visit at the Mayo Clinic? Here you go. Politicians like Dave Senjum supported a tax plan that would give the ultra-rich and special interests big money. But this is paid for by a P.O. box. Here you go. The return address is a P.O. box in Manhattan, in Midtown Manhattan. So what does this guy know about our way of life that we don't know about our way of life? Right? Here's another one. Here's a family trying to make it. Oh gosh, tough times. Because why? Because COVID-19 shut everything down and the Democrats destroyed our economy and used it as an opportunity for Davos to reset the global economy. Politicians like Dave Senjum supported a plan to eliminate protections for pre-existing conditions. And here's some stock footage, right? That anybody can find on the internet, right? So you're supposed to vote against Dave Senjum because he doesn't have your health care interests in mind at the time when they're terrorizing whole communities with COVID-19, right? Nothing but COVID. So here, politicians like Dave Senjum supported a plan that would make our health care more expensive. And of course, who's sending it? Again, every town for gun safety out of a P.O. box in a post office across the street from Grand Central Station in Midtown Manhattan. Politicians like Dave Senjum put the insurance industry above Minnesota families. Isn't that ironic that somebody from New York City would care so much about us? Billionaire Bloomberg, by the way, all his money bought him exactly one debate on stage in Iowa, and he was attacked by Senator Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris. Camila, whatever. He was attacked for what he had done to women. So, paying them money so they would sign non-disclosure acts about harassment, alleged harassment they'd suffered on the job. But he's a Democrat, so, at least no mean tweets, right? Every town for gun safety. Here's a new one, a different one, talking about, here, this is too ironic. Politicians like Dave Senjum are still benefiting from special interest donations. Really? The concern here is about money, right? The concern is about money in politics in Rochester, Minnesota, from a billionaire who is from New York City. Give me a serious break, folks. All right. And of course, billionaire Bloomberg, he cares so much about women and little girls that he's going to fight Dave Senjum, right? Because the tagline here is, politicians like Dave Senjum supported a plan that would eliminate health care protections that Minnesota families count on. And here's that poor little girl. I mean, she's just, she's a victim of, this is just blatantly bizarre, right? This kind of imagery from a billionaire who has paid lawyers to go to women and have these women sign non-disclosure acts and then give them a shit ton of money so that their allegations against the billionaire go away. And, we all know how that goes, right? I mean, they kind of killed #MeToo themselves, didn't they? All those allegations, allegedly, right? Here's a young couple, okay? Young couple concerned about their bills. We can't afford Dave Senjum. Politicians like Dave Senjum supported a plan that would make our health care more expensive. Nah, I don't think so. Don't tell me how that works from a P.O. box in Manhattan, right? If you're living in Manhattan, you're living in a town with the most expensive health care costs in the United States of America, and very poor care at that. A city so mismanaged, everybody wants to leave it right now, right? They destroyed it. People are marching in the streets in Manhattan right now. If you haven't noticed, the place is on fire with everybody's coming out conservative. There's a red wave in this country. But billionaire Bloomberg has money to waste. $250,000 against Dave Senjum. $250,000. Similar ads against Carla Nelson from a P.O. box. I gotta say it again. It's a P.O. box in Manhattan. Billionaire Bloomberg, are you fine with this level of shenanigans? Okay, it's not illegal. All right, it's just wrong. DFL, Democrats, do you have no problem with this? Are you okay with this? Are you okay with a billionaire from I thought you hated billionaires. I thought the 1% is super duper badses to all you guys. I thought you hated President Trump because he was a rich orange man. All right? He had to be impeached for 4 years, right? But you're okay with billionaire Bloomberg spending this kind of money to influence campaigns 1,000 miles away from where he lives, if he even spends time in this country, right? I mean, here's one about Dave Senjem that Dave Senjem paid for himself that I actually don't like. This is one of Dave Senjem's own, and it involves a picture of Dave Senjem with our fabulous Democrat governor to show, of course, what a nice guy Dave Senjem is. And you know, the thing is, you can say a lot of things about Dave Senjem, but he is a nice guy. And maybe that's part of the problem. We need some fighters right now for Rochester. We need some fighters for Minnesota. The GOP, the Republican Party, should have been the ones to come after these ads from New York City. I shouldn't have to be ranting at a camera complaining about the money that a billionaire is spending from New York City to purchase influence and buy influence in Rochester, Minnesota. I shouldn't have to do this. The GOP, the Olmsted County Republicans, should be on top of this, telling you about this. All right? So why am I doing this today? Because I fell into all this information last week. This is some astonishing stuff, and this doesn't even represent all of the advertising that was spent against Senjem, just particularly. And remember, this went on in every single area of Minnesota. Not only is this an attempt to purchase Democrats, but this is an attempt to frighten conservatives and frighten Republicans. I see this as evidence of how worried they were about the last election. They canceled election day. They gave us instead election months or years. And I said that before, but some people are just coming on. I'm going to show you another astonishing thing. This person, I have to share this from them. The person who gave me this data, I have to share this because I don't live in this district, although I did receive some of these by mistake, okay? I have others that I could show you about Dave Senjem, but they seem to be confused about the districting. So like, who's on what side of the line. So I was getting some of these about Senjem. Most of the ones I got were about Carla Nelson, okay? And others received more about other candidates depending on the district you live in, because they're very smart with the targeting and the marketing of these advertisements. This full color glossy stuff from a P.O. box in Midtown Manhattan from a fake organization called Everytown for Gun Safety Action Fund, P.O. Box 4184, New York, New York 10163. These individuals spent more money in Rochester, Minnesota than I wager any other person locally spent in Rochester, Minnesota. Now, the Supreme Court determined that money is free speech. So spending money on political campaigns is a form of free speech, and it can't be infringed upon, okay? But this is ridiculous, because billionaire Bloomberg has more free speech in Rochester, Minnesota right now than those of us who live here. We have no public forums. We have no way of speaking to the elected officials. We really have no meet and greets to speak of. We have had no city council meetings where we're allowed to speak on the microphone. These things are beginning to open up because persons like myself and others have been straight out in front saying, you guys have to have public meetings. Starting to happen again. It's beginning, okay? But we're not done actually bringing it. We need to have our politicians understand that we know more about Rochester than billionaire Bloomberg. Why is Rochester always bringing in experts to teach us something? Why are they always coming here to drop money inside Rochester? What are they hoping to buy? What are they hoping to accomplish? Well, guess what? Even though the plans Bloomberg had, just as he just bought himself one lousy debate on the stage and Kamala Harris beat him up and Senator Warren beat him up, in that same way, he got nothing for all the money he spent. Carla won by 900 votes. Senjem won by 1,200 votes at a time when 8,000 new voters suddenly appeared in Olmsted County. Olmsted County has a population of 162 and change human beings, right? 91,000 voters, give or take a few. 8,000 suddenly pop in, right? Carla won by 900 votes. Senjem won by 1,200 votes. If I was a Democrat who lost against those numbers, I would question the election. I would ask for a recount. Why aren't the Democrats upset about this? Interesting. How come so many people turned out for Carla and Senjem, and then you're telling me that Trump lost? Trump was at the top of the ticket. Trump's the reason people came out to vote. How did all this happen? Why did we have 1,800 missing absentee ballots in Olmsted County alone? These numbers are according to Secretary of State Simon's office. I'm not pulling this out of my hat. Okay? We're taking a deep dive into some numbers here. How do you have 2%, right? So 91,000 registered voters, 1,800 missing absentee ballots. Why so many absentee ballots? Well, I had an idea. I saved all of those little absentee ballots that I was being sent, those applications. I saved them, and I did a video on those missing absentee ballots as well. Okay? I did a video on that because I was like questioning, why am I getting so many of these applications to apply? I'll do another video because I got a stack like this. I got absentee ballot applications from all over Minneapolis, St. Paul, okay? I could have applied for absentee ballots probably 15 to 20 times. So this individual I met with last week for breakfast provided me with some original source material. I like original source material. I like documents. I like footnotes. I like endnotes. I like evidence. I don't want to hear opinions. I just want to see some evidence, all right? So here we got from the office of the Minnesota Secretary of State. This gentleman received numerous applications. Both, actually, there's more than one voter residing at this household. Each of the people residing at this household received numerous applications from the office of the Minnesota Secretary of State, 180 State Office Building, 100 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, because everything needs to be called Martin Luther King Park or whatever. St. Paul, Minnesota, 55155, right? So this one family, this one household received numerous applications. Hey, vote from home. Okay, people? Stay home because COVID's super duper badses, everybody. You got to stay home and don't forget your jab and get all your boosters too, right? Vote from home. Doesn't that sound great? Doesn't that sound convenient? We're going to have early, you can vote early and you can vote often. Just keep voting, everybody. Vote from home. Don't worry. It's going to be good for you. You're going to like it. Stay at home and vote. Then you can do it in your pajamas. Right? You can just sit at home and vote. You don't have to go anywhere. So what do you get when you open one of these envelopes? So I opened up one of these numerous envelopes, and inside the envelope, I have to be careful with this. Okay, so this one's not filled out. All right, good. All right, so this comes from the Secretary of State's office. You open this document from Olmsted County, right? There's a letter inside here. This is kind of weird because the Secretary of State, right? You got this return envelope inside to send your ballot in to Olmsted County. So this is from, oh, sorry. This one is from the Olmsted County election. So in addition to the ones being sent by Secretary Simon from the Minnesota State government, Olmsted County was also sending out its own absentee ballots. I hope Okay, I was worried I put their name on there. I was worried I was showing you their name because this is top secret. This person can get in a lot of trouble if this gets out. I was afraid I screwed up there. So you open up the ballot from Olmsted County, and inside you have your 2020 Minnesota absentee ballot application. So one household received numerous ballot applications from the state and from the county. So Olmsted County, hey, Olmsted, you got 1,800 missing absentee ballots. Do you think that maybe some people applied for more than one? Does it mean that they received more than one? Does it mean that they received more than one and submitted both, or they just didn't send the other one in? Or does it mean that they applied for a ballot in several different cities, say Milwaukee or Chicago, or they applied in Minneapolis, St. Paul, Mankato, and Rochester? Were they doing a circuit? I don't know. We're gonna talk about that in another video, okay? Because you know I like to ask questions that I already know the answers to. That's kind of the way, I don't know. That's kind of the way you have to be in life, is be sure you know the answers before you ask the questions, because you might not like the answers if you don't already know them. So I want to show you another one. So the same household, and I got some of these in my district as well, the same household received this application. I'm going to show you this one. I can't show you one page because there's some secret information about the voter and their household. Okay, let me go back. The Center for Voter Information sounds really good, right? Don't you want to have a Center for Voter Information? That sounds like a positive thing, okay? The Center for Voter Information, 1670 South Robert Street, number 334. I'm going to go look that address up someday. There, you can have it for yourself. If you live up there, go snap a picture and send it to me and tell me what the heck is going on at this address. If you live in Minneapolis, St. Paul, go take a peek at what's happening at this address, because if you live up there, you have this fabulous place called the Center for Voter Information right there on Robert Street. You ought to know about this. Sounds like a good spot. Sounds like a good place to be, because all voters need information, right? So what do you got in West St. Paul? What's going on in West St. Paul on Robert Street? Let's open it up. We got a letter inside here. Oh boy, they didn't pay my return postage this time. But guess what? Inside this letter from St. Paul, there's an envelope addressed to the Olmsted County Elections Office right here in Rochester, Minnesota, okay? So the Center for Voter Information has a lot of information about voters. Uh-oh, what do they know about voters at the Center for Voter Information in St. Paul? First of all, they know where you should send your application for an absentee ballot. As if it wasn't already enough that you got one from the county, as if it wasn't already enough that you got several from Secretary Scott Simon. In addition, you have these people at the Center for Voter Information sending you they know you're in Olmsted County. What did these people do? This is where I have to be careful, because on this page, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. It's as easy as ABC, right? Because you have to have a snappy, you got to make people want to do it, right? And that you got to have the snappy line. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Voting's easy as ABC. Yeah, in Minnesota it really is. On the other side of this application for an absentee ballot, it's already filled in. It's completely filled in. They have this voter's first name, last name, middle name, county where they live. They've already filled in their complete address and zip code. All you have to do is sign it, and you're done. You put it in the envelope that the Center for Voter Information provides, and you send it into your county official. Okay, clearly the process for voting in Minnesota is not merely broken, but the process for applying for absentee ballots is severely suspect at this point. Now, we're going to be having two events coming up in Rochester, Minnesota about these election situations in Olmsted County. The first one is with Andy Sillick of the Minnesota Voters Alliance. That's going to be at the Eagles Club. Reach out for further information. It's already on the calendar. I have the place booked. Andy Sillick is coming to talk about the lawsuit against Olmsted County, which is now lodged in the Minnesota State Supreme Court. The court has agreed to hear it, and it's coming up very soon. You can watch it on Zoom. Reach out. Maybe I should post the information, the links to those events in the comments below this video. Furthermore, the second event that's coming up is going to be with Mr. Can't believe I'm forgetting, Rick Weibel of the Midwest Swamp Watch. He's been in Rochester last week. The event went on for 3 hours. Nobody was bored. They only got up to get another cup of coffee and sit down and listen some more. 3-hour meeting with him last week in Rochester. He's coming back in December. We're going to post the links to all of those events. Prepare to be amazed. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for this little presentation. I really had to get this out. This went on much longer than I thought it would. I will be loading this video, this live stream. I'll be putting this on my Silly Dilly YouTube channel. If you want to watch it there, it'll be on the YouTube channel called Wes Lund. I used to have a more creative name for it, but one of my church lady friends attacked me for the name and said I had to change it. So I didn't know what else to call it. So if you want to see it there, the silly channel is called Wes Lund. Go look for it. There's some other stupid videos there. And I want to thank you all for abiding with my yelling and screaming so early in the blessed AM, but I had to show you. And if you came in late, go back and watch from the start, because I showed you a lot of original source material. I believe in original source material and documentation. I don't like photocopies of stuff, and I don't like word of mouth. I like to see the real stuff. So, Michael Bloomberg, final point. Less than a year ago, I was being called a conspiracy theorist guy for talking about all of the money that Billionaire Bloomberg was dropping in Rochester. And now, fast forward a year, Mayor Norton is openly bragging about the initiatives she's rolling out in Rochester with money. Our economy was destroyed. Now the money's rolling in, and somebody's picking winners and losers in this new command economy that you and I are living under. Winners and losers are being chosen by some committee, unelected bureaucrats. You've already seen, we've had the German experts here from the EU, unelected bureaucrats, coming into Rochester to give us advice on energy policy, of all things, right? Because Germany fixed Europe already, right? Germany's fixed the EU, so now they're going to come tell us how to do things in Rochester, Minnesota. I don't think so. We have a lot to teach the rest of the world. We can learn from other people as well. And Rochester's always been an opening and welcoming community. We don't need to be told how our attitudes or our beliefs or our structure's wrong. We don't need experts to come in and tell us how to run our town. We also have a lot to teach the world. When people come here, they should try to understand our way of life. I got to share one more little vignette about priorities. One last thing before I sign off, because this is what it's all about. I was coming home late last night from work. Driving on Broadway, I saw a woman clearly in distress sitting on the pavement. Not a normal situation. You guys know how cold it was last night, and you know how we're headed into even more severe weather. She wasn't dressed appropriately for the weather. She's sitting on the pavement. She's got 2 large bags of stuff. She's sitting there. She's in distress. I asked her if she's all right, ascertained that she's a little inebriated or high or just not in her right mind. What does a good Samaritan do? And it has nothing to do, I'm not getting preachy here. What does any human being do, right? I called the RPD. And this is all a matter of public record, because you know they record. Non-emergency. I said this is a non-emergency. There's an individual in distress on Broadway. First person I talked to at dispatch, incidentally, was not very interested in the information I was conveying. As the cold weather approaches, this is serious business in Minnesota. If you're not from here, you don't know, all right? If you haven't lived through a few Minnesota winters, it's bad. You got to be ready for it. First call to the Rochester Police Department. Guy wasn't so interested. Sheriff's Department vehicle drove by. I caught up with him at the next light. I conveyed the information through my passenger side window to the Sheriff's Department guy that there's a woman back there on the sidewalk in distress. He was going on his way to another assignment, but he said, I will call it into dispatch. He did so. He did so. Here's how I found out. I called another person in the Rochester Police Department and talked about how I'd been treated by dispatch. That individual informed me that help was on the way to the woman. There was an officer in the area who was in fact responding to my call regarding the woman sitting on the sidewalk in distress. What's a priority? Okay? What's a priority for the Rochester Police Department? What's a priority for this mayor, Mayor Norton? Do you cut ribbons at ceremonies? Or when a person sitting on the sidewalk at night in the dark, male or female, it's got nothing to do with gender. Okay, it's about your capacity to extend yourself to another human being and your ability. Hey, I sound like a rough guy. I'm a big softie, okay? That's the truth. I actually am. I know you wouldn't believe it, right? But what's a priority for you? The primary concern is the health, welfare, safety of the residents of this community. Not playing some kind of public relations game, not bringing in billions and billions of dollars for propaganda paid for by a billionaire from a P.O. box in Midtown Manhattan across the street from Grand Central Station. This is asshat. Uh-oh, I just used a bad word. This is BS, okay? Propaganda, cute videos, fully produced propaganda. I don't care who's paying for it. Or your grant money. I don't care where your grant money's coming from. If you don't care that there's a human sitting on the sidewalk at night, it's time to end this video. Thanks for watching as long as you did, if you in fact made it to the end. But let's all get on with our day and take care of each other, everybody. Look out for each other, okay? Thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day. Thanks. I see you. You're with me to the end. Thank you there. Bye-bye.